President Trump is trying to unclog a major mess caused by the Democrats. 47 announcing FEMA will help clean up the Potomac's biggest dump ever. We're talking about 240 million gallons of raw sewage that's poured into the water after a pipe literally just couldn't hold it in anymore. Trump is pinning the blame on blue beltway areas, Maryland, Virginia, and Washington, D.C., called the DMV, saying that, quote, they must get to work immediately. If they can't do the job, they have to call me and ask politely to get it fixed. Now, a lot of people will be headed to the swamp for America's 250th birthday this summer, and our friend Peter Ducey has a very interesting question about that.
Is he worried that by the summer, the Potomac River will still smell like poop?
He is worried about that, which is why the federal government wants to fix it, and we hope that the local authorities will cooperate with us in doing so.
What a poker face. All right. The guy whose state unleashed the poo kraken, Maryland Governor Wes Moore, is somehow pointing the finger at Trump.
Now that it is essentially 99% contained, I love the fact that the President of the United States is finally realizing that this was his job, and he hasn't been doing it for the past month. So I say, listen, we'd welcome you to help to address the remaining 1%.
All right, Dana, there's a lot of ways we can go with this. I think I guess the question everyone asking is, how do you let 240 million gallons of poop flow into the river? Like,
and they didn't say anything for a long time. So look, America's infrastructure is in a lot of places at a crisis point.
Yeah.
And that is a state and local government issue for the most part. Remember, we had the bridge collapse about 10 years ago, and everyone said, oh my gosh, we've got to do something about the bridges. Well, America's water systems and sewage systems absolutely need to be taken care of. This is not a federal government responsibility. I know that Governor Moore has been saying that. As far as I know, and I used to work at the Council on Environmental Quality, I'm not a lawyer like these two who are annoying lawyers are. I always want to say no to everything. But the states that are there, Virginia, Maryland, and then the entity that is D.C., they're supposed to work together to make this be okay. It's absolutely not okay. It's disgusting. And what's very interesting is that for the last 2 weeks, the liberals have been really gnashing their teeth about President Trump removing the endangerment finding for CO2 emissions, right? They said that's the worst thing that could ever happen to the environment for something that could not be proven for a gazillion years, maybe if ever, it's not a pollutant. But at the same time, if a farmer had allowed this to happen on his land,
it'd be done.
What do you think would have happened to him? He would have been in court, probably maybe even in jail. He would have lost everything. And these guys have just spent time pointing fingers at each other. The last thing I'll mention is a lot of people on Capitol Hill who live like in that water area. Yes, the drinking water is okay, but they're worried about it. So now some of them are getting additional filtration systems on their homes, and it's about $1,000. So you could say that they've had a $1,000 tax increase because of this.
Harold, so the few ways the federal government can help out here, one is through the EPA, and the other one is actually to clean it up, and that would be through FEMA. Obviously, the funding for FEMA is held up right now because Congress is fighting over Homeland Security budget. Maybe this is an opportunity for President Trump to get Democrats on board to, pay the bills and clean this up.
Well, it generally takes a crisis to get Congress and the president or both parties to work together. So perhaps that could be the only thing that comes out of this crap that makes it right. I don't like my politics, and the way I approach politics. I hate when people allow pettiness to get in the way of advancing the public interest, and in particular when it comes to public health. Congress and the legislatures are responsible for water laws, and the president and governors are responsible for enforcement of it. But I think when we reach a point where people are pointing fingers and blaming, and this is no pun intended, when you have this kind of situation happening in the water system, it's really a reflection and very telling about where our politics is today. Finally, they say that drinking water has not been affected by this, but they do say they have elevated levels. I think in some of the briefing that we got, that they're elevated levels of
60 times the bad bacteria is 60 times
elevated levels of E. coli and
safe.
Another thing I can't pronounce with a lot of syllables. So hopefully, the president and Governor Moore can find a meeting of the minds here and get this done.
Emily, the CEO of DC Water, who apparently is kind of responsible for this section of the pipe, he got hired at DC Water after leaving the company that was in charge of Flint, Michigan's water. before
He
the
got
lawsuit.
a job after from Flint, Michigan.
He left. I don't know that he was the CEO, but he was an executive with that same company, left before the lawsuit hit, and got hired at D.C., and now he's got this. So his legacy is leaving Flint, Michigan without drinkable water and lying about it. Remember, they said it was an old pipe that the lining had come out causing the color, and it was actually lead, and they proved they knew it. And then he comes here, and the same thing, like Dana pointed out, literally they just don't say anything about it. They I guess, run from the fact that everyone's going to figure it out.
Well, this is what's so disappointing, and I'm even more disappointed that I'm not surprised as a taxpaying citizen that you see these decision makers and legislators and people in executive positions just passing the hot potato and crossing their fingers that something doesn't break on their watch. This is basic government, right? This is basic functioning. This is infrastructure, public health, environmental protection. And here at the state level, you know, they're being essentially given an option. Here, we're going to help you. This is not partisan. It should not be about politics. It's not a political threat. They should treat it as a practical solution. And if they really felt like the Democrats like to do, that environmental protection first and health and safety first, right? We were lectured on all the masks and on everything in the air. Well, that level of E. coli and feces in the water, the amount of animals they're damaging. And it reminds me, I mean, it's not an oil spill, but the Pelicans, remember in the Deepwater Horizon oil spill? Like, we have gone through this. And I think constituents are sick and tired of seeing the ecology be destroyed, humans' health being suffering or being risked, and then having everyone in charge just point fingers. Like, at the end of the day, just get it done. Real leadership means arguing about how it started later, and infrastructure failures, they're not ideological, right? It's managerial. So I need a leader. And President Trump asking him to ask politely reminds me of one time in college when my car was getting towed in the back of the sorority, and I literally ran like flying out and like screaming. I don't even remember what I was yelling, but I was like, oh my gosh. And the tow truck literally was like, the driver was like, if you ask nicely, I will let your car go. And it was like, I had it, for some reason, I was like, ah. And then I was like, sir, may I please have my car? And he was like, yes. Bing, and like released it down. Like, maybe it takes some eating crow, but I'm not quite sure why if you're here to serve constituents, not yourself.
And now you are married to the tow truck driver. What a
Great way to meet
story.
people.
Yeah, that would never happen to any of us, just some hot broad. If you say nicely, little woman. You know, I see a sign that says raw sewage. Is there another kind? Yeah, it's like, am I supposed to feel better that it's raw?
Filleted.
It's
Slightly
filleted. Look,
sauteed.
you know, despite being flush with cash, the cities are in a toilet. But Trump will drain the swamp, and for that, he deserves a turd term. Look, this is one of those moments where God conflates reality and analogy, right? You used to say D.C. is like a swamp. No, it literally is a swamp. Jerry Nadler must be ecstatic. He can now blame all of the odors on the river. Not my pants. Not my pants. You know what's crazy? You need the highest income in the country to live in the D.C. area. Did you see that study that came out? You have all these government officials, these government hacks, these politicians, and somehow people can afford extravagant homes. We're paying trillions in taxes and we get nothing. This is what I think. It's like, where does this money go? So you have people living in million-dollar homes in and around this area, but you have raw sewage in this scenic river. And I go back to this observation that I've had, and maybe I brought it up here, but whenever I land in any mid-sized city or suburb or whatnot for a live show and I'm driving, I don't really drive.
Yeah.
My driver's doing this.
The big steering wheel.
I'm looking out the window and I see rows of businesses that nobody is populating, but they're not out of business. They're just these businesses. You see this whenever you go to, like, whether you're coming into Memphis or Minneapolis or Reno. And then I started hearing about all of this unrestrained fraud, the Somalian daycares, the home health care stuff in California. And I'm starting to think, is there like this invisible trillion-dollar fraudulent economy that is fed by the government? It's like our money, and it creates this whole underground, because now all of these things that I see when I'm driving, like, those are making money, but nobody's going in them because they're taking like 20% of our tax, which is, I don't know how many, we spend what, $5 trillion? You know, if they get a couple of trillion a year, that's huge.
The amazing thing, though, in Minnesota, all of that talk we've done, I saw the reporting. I think the young man that uncovered this, there's not been one person indicted.
Yeah. Well, there's been some people
one.
arrested. There's been some people already. Yes, there has.
There's a lady in jail.
Yeah.
There's not one person that's been indicted on stealing these federal funds in Minnesota.
There are people.
I'd love to be
The lady
corrected.
that's in jail. Alexis McAdams interviewed her.
There was a wave of it a couple of years ago. There hasn't been anything new.
I see your point. There should be more. I want
I'm just saying,
everybody.
I don't think that person.
I want
don't
you in
think-
jail, Harold.
Thank you.
I want you to be my bunkmate.
Maybe we need to find the real DC pipe bomber.
You know, if I went to jail, I would take you with me.
No, that's something I'll let you do alone if you really. I want you to enjoy that by yourself.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.